welcome to the first ever episode of the Draftaholics podcast. My name is Matt Savoca. I'm your host at Draftaholic on Twitter, and this is my sidekick, George Sloten.
What's up, everybody? George Sloten here, at George Sloten on Twitter. Glad to be here from New York, with my good buddy Matt Savoca.
We're at the Draftaholics studio here at the upper tip of Manhattan, and, well, the Draftaholics podcast is going to be a little bit different because, well, we're Draftaholics.
And we're different.
We're a little different. We're a little weird. And frankly, draft day is our favorite day of the entire year. It's our Christmas. It's our Hanukkah. It's our birthday. It's our free Slurpee day. It's our National Pancake Day, National Puppy Day, National Sibling Day, all rolled into one. It is our favorite day of the year. And with the proliferation of great websites like My Fantasy League, Draft, the FFPC, and many others, there's drafts for us every single day of the year. So, with that said, we are going to take player evaluation, team evaluation, league evaluation, and put it in the context of a specific draft. Because at the end of the day, what do you care about in fantasy football?
Really, I only care about my team.
You really only care about your team.
Not your team.
He doesn't care about me.
I don't care about I care about my team.
I don't think he cares about me, the person.
No, I care about Matt, the person.
Okay, that's
but
nice.
What we're going to do differently than the guys we come after, like Matt Berry and JJ Zacharyson and Evan Silva.
Who we're huge fans of course.
Huge fans. Love all of them. We're going to, instead of looking at a draft more from the macro perspective, we're going to go micro. We're going to go to a specific part of the draft. Maybe it's a turn, maybe it's your turn, maybe it's another person's turn, and it lit off into something big. And it may have blown your mind. We're going to take a look at that and figure out why it happened. Should it happen? Did it happen too early? Did it happen too late? How you can plan for that? Because drafts are crazy.
They're always weird. And honestly, we can't evaluate players correctly until we're actually on the clock. It's a very frustrating thing, I'm sure, for many producers of content that came before us. When we evaluate players in a vacuum, there are just too many moving parts, too many factors that we cannot control for until we get in the draft room. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And when we come back, we're going to show you an actual spot from an actual draft we just completed and see if you agree with what we did. Here's a word from our sponsors.
We don't have any as of right now because we're a brand new show.
Welcome back to the draft. That's all. Best ball, draft master, if you will. So we're going to be examining the 9-10 turn. We had the 12th overall pick in the draft, so that means we have the 9-12 and the 10-1. It's a 12-team league. But first, I got to ask you about that 5th round pick. Let's take a look at the board.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me. So here from the 12th pick, we start out Odell Beckham Jr., Dalvin Cook. We need that running back, at least one of them to start off.
Oh, totally. You need someone really consistent.
But let's focus on that Deshaun Watson pick. If there's any pick that's sort of anti-analytics, anti-late round QB, it's this Deshaun Watson pick.
Right.
So, George, you're up. Defend this pick.
Warren Sharp has the Houston Texans as the easiest strength of schedule coming into the 2018 season. They're going to be playing 7 opponents in the top 10 worst defenses. 5 of those 7 are going to be the top 5 worst. Now, in regards to Deshaun Watson, he had 6 starts last year, right, before that terrible injury.
Yeah.
Houston scored at least 33 points in 5 of those 6 outings.
And those weren't bad opponents either. He had New England in there. He had Seattle before their injuries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before their injuries and before they shipped everyone else away. But the other 10 starts of the season, do you have any points that the Houston Texans averaged?
How many?
13 points a game without Watson starting. They scored more than 20 points above their average for 5 out of the 6 starts Deshaun Watson had. Deshaun Watson was pressured a league high 48% of the time behind a terrible offensive line, in my opinion.
Number 32 via PFF.
Oh, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Is there anyone worse than that?
That it would be last.
Okay.
Last.
He avoided pressure of that 48%. He only took sacks 17% of that time in pressure dropbacks, compared to like Andy Dalton, who was pressured 31% of the time, and of that, like 30% of that time, he was sacked. So I mean, Deshaun Watson has feet of gold.
So he's
silver.
Evasive. He's avoiding the rush better than anyone else.
14% of Deshaun Watson's throws went for 20 plus yards versus a league average of 8.5 yards. 8.5%. He had a 7.9 yards per completion versus an average league-wide of 6 yards per completion. His third down passing rating was not good. He was a rookie, okay? He makes mistakes. He's going to grow from that. I'm a big fan of DeAndre Hopkins, obviously. Will Fuller had over 12 yards per target.
Unequivocally magnificent with Watson at the helm.
Absolutely. And even Bruce Ellington had yards per completion or yards per target of 8 yards.
I have not heard that name this year. He was very good in the slot.
And I think you had him at one point. Did you have Steven Anderson?
I had Steven Anderson. I still like him. Athletic tight end.
At 12 yards per target. I mean, these are numbers that you can't go against. I have him in my top 2 quarterbacks this year, obviously, because we drafted him there.
That's where we took him.
And I think his ceiling is definitely the highest of anyone in the 2018 class.
There's something about the way that he makes players better that might not be measurable via analytics, but I'm going to try right now. So my problem with the Deshaun Watson pick isn't necessarily about that upside. It's about who's still on the board. So at QB2, I want Russell Wilson. Let me throw you some comparisons here. So Deshaun Watson was number 1 in deep balls thrown per game at 6.9. Wilson, number 3 with 5.8. Deshaun, number 6 in deep ball completion rate. That obviously has a smaller sample size. Even though Wilson had the entire season, he was number 13 in deep ball completion rate. That's only a difference of about 7%. Watson, number 2 in rush yards with 38 a game. Wilson, number 3 with a larger sample size, 26.6 rush yards per game. Wilson was also number 1 in touchdowns, but the big difference is in what playerprofiler.com, a great stats and information service run by Matt Kelly, danger plays, interceptable passes, number 32 and number 28 in the league, respectively. The guy was making very aggressive throws. And you know what? Those are 50-50 balls in the NFL. The defense can come down with them the following year. We haven't even gotten into his touchdown rate, which is the most unsustainable efficiency stat I have seen in many years analyzing fantasy football.
Do you think that the fact that Deshaun Watson played against some of the best defenses in the league within those 6 games and proved himself against those has any merit to seeing it in a full year?
Not until I see it. For me, it's about there's no long small numbers. So we could be fooled by randomness. He could be the real deal.
Okay. I see that. I personally am not a Russell Wilson fan. He had a +8 turnover margin last year as opposed to +1 in 2016. He's losing my good buddy Jimmy Graham. He's not my good buddy, but I wish he was.
I wish you were my buddy, Jimmy Graham.
Let me give you a couple stats about Russell Wilson. 33% of his total yards last year came after the catch, as opposed to 50% in 2016. What that means to say is, I'm not a huge fan of his wide receiver core. They had a terrible run game last year. I mean, Rashad Penny has a lot of weight on his back. Their defense lost Clinton Averill, Richard Sherman, Jeremy Lane. I mean,
They're going to be entirely different on defense.
they're going to be completely different. And I think if they're going to be down 14 or 21 points in the second quarter, Russell Wilson may be throwing those scary balls, those 50-50 balls, to try to get his team back in the game. I just a bad defense to me, and it's proven, can also often lead to a bad offense. Their strength of schedule is 3rd hardest, according to Warren Sharp. And the one person that really scares me the most on the Seahawks is not someone that's actually going to be playing between the hedges. It's going to be Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer, Jets 2011, 20th best in efficiency. Okay, the Rams for 3 years again, and with, Jeff Fisher, who we all love and know and love from Hard Knocks. They had 21st, 22nd, and 25th best in efficiency those years. And I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. We had Brian Schottenheimer for the year of 2015. You know what Georgia's efficiency was? First of all, Georgia, which was just in the national championship last year.
In 2015, so they had Nick Chubb. They had a lot of these.
They had a lot of these studs that are now
playoff caliber
absolutely.
teams. Yes.
Bulldogs were 81st in efficiency overall in the entire nation. Okay, they were behind teams like Georgia Southern, who's in the Southern Conference. I mean, they had some terrible numbers. Brian Schottenheimer scares me, and I'm scared for Russell Wilson.
Okay, so we may not have convinced each other that Watson or Wilson was the best pick, but I really like how this draft continued on from there. Dion Lewis, Pierre Garçon, and Jamison Crowder.
Clay Crowder, maybe.
Love Jamison Crowder.
Number 80.
I absolutely think that he could be the number one option for Alex Smith. He loves his slot targets.
Absolutely.
No reason Garçon has to prove to me that he's not capable of doing what he did last year.
Right.
And especially in this draft, if you notice, Marquise Goodwin went at the 6'10". Happy to take a chance a round and a half later
for Pierre
on Pierre Garçon with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who's easily could be the wide receiver one of that team with Jimmy G.
So we take Deshaun Watson and we follow up with Dion Lewis. Now, we do have a really good trio of receivers in Odell Beckham Jr., Larry Fitzgerald, and Amari Cooper. But by taking that quarterback and a running back there, we're missing out on the opportunity to draft a really, really high-quality flex wide receiver. We know these wide receivers are going to have number one weeks. Michael Crabtree, Sammy Watkins, Will Fuller, they have upside for different reasons, but they're all fairly priced in that 6th round. So why do we feel comfortable avoiding those three and then taking a Pierre Garçon, a Jamison Crowder, possibly an Emmanuel Sanders, who we were very much considering at that turn? What do we feel is the missed upside there?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think there's an argument for any of those 6 players to end up in 2018, 2019 as the best of those 6. Sammy Watkins, to me, does not have that upside. He only had 1 game last year where he caught more than 5 balls. And he only had 2 games over 4 catches. Where is that? That floor is nothing. I mean, it scares me to know that he's only caught 5 catches, more than 5 catches in 1 game.
Yeah, I do have to say...
And he had 8 touchdowns and only 39 catches on the year. You think that he can keep that up?
No, that's an unsustainable TD rate. I just think he got thrown the ball way too infrequently. I do think that from a coordinator standpoint, it's really hard to work a player of that caliber into your game plan with like a week to go before the season. There's got to be a reason why the Chiefs paid him the most money out of any wide receiver. I think more than Allen Robinson. I mean, they clearly believe. They clearly believe. So I took my personal projections, which are a collection from my own stat gathering, but also many other great full-time projectors around the industry. I averaged out my projections for the trio of Crabtree, Watkins, and Will Fuller. My average that I got for them, an average points per game, is 9.5 points per game. So I took the projection of Garçon, Crowder, and Sanders, and just take a guess at what their average projection is.
9.5.
It is 9.5 points per game. Dion Lewis, probably not my favorite running back in that range, but I'm happy to take him as an RB2 in a best ball format. We need another running back. We went wide receiver heavy. We chose to have an early round quarterback that we debated on already. I like Dion Lewis.
Doesn't bother me at all.
No. Now we get to the good stuff. This is the part of the Draftaholics that we want to really emphasize. This is a big turn here. We have most of our starters. We have flex starters. We have a quarterback. We easily could fill out the lineup, get the tight end. There's actually a bunch off the board. We're already down to Kittle, Reed, Doyle. They've all gone. But we're really focused on the running back here, right, George?
We need them. We're desperate.
Even though we have our starters filled out, I really feel like this is a great part of the board to take upside flyers. So what does that mean? We don't necessarily know if any of these guys are going to hit, but we need to get individuals who have absolute run on the field. They're going to get opportunity, and there's a little asymmetrical upside there. If there's an injury, if there's game flow that doesn't go exactly the way that we expect it to preseason, they could really hit the ball in the ballpark.
They're one play away from being RB1s.
Absolutely. Now, let's examine the first set of running backs here. So as far as ADP goes, we have a couple of options. We've got a great set of Isaiah Crowell, Corey Clement, Gio Bernard, Aaron Jones, and then Donta Foreman, Doug Martin and Chris Carson, they're next, but it's
Yeah,
probably
they're a tier below.
it's too early for
Yeah.
them.
Oh.
So we're down to about 4 running backs. And for us in the draft spot, it was really down to 3. It was Crowell, it was Bernard, and it was Aaron Jones.
Right.
So let's go into the Packers backfield first.
Let's.
Aaron Rodgers, he always is throwing up touchdowns like crazy. We want to get running backs from prolific offenses who are going to be in the red zone all the time. Why Aaron Jones, though?
Well, let's do, let me give you 3 numbers. And I want you to tell me which one is your favorite. I'm not going to tell you what the numbers mean, but I just want you to go ahead and tell me your favorite, okay?
Okay.
There are 3 numbers, okay? 3.6, 3.9, and 5.5. Now, is that cookies? Is that high fives?
Right. In golf, I suppose the lower numbers are better,
That's true.
but 2 of them are very similar. So I'm going to choose the 5, the
Okay.
one with 5 in it.
Okay, so let's go behind door number 5.5 then, right?
Let's
you
do it.
chose Aaron Jones, and congratulations because that's his yard per carry. Right?
Wow. And the same line compared to Ty Montgomery and Jamal Williams, he has almost 2 yards per carry more.
Give me Aaron Jones all day, every day. He only played 12 games last year, but he is stellar. He has shown some absolute incredible burst speed. Speaking of burst score, he was an 88th percentile versus Jamal's 21st percentile of burst score. His Spark X score was in the 53rd percentile versus Jamal's in the 10th percentile. According to JJ,
Zacharias, and of course, we're on first name basis with JJ.
he was the second most efficient running back behind Kamara. And we're talking about Aaron Jones here.
That's unbelievable. I actually did not know that. And in fact, I had his burst score written as a positive for him as well. Above 85th percentile, you're not joking around. By the way, the burst score is a combination of the vertical jump and the broad jump. The man can jump far.
That's right.
He also has an agility score, which is a combination of his agility drills over the 85th percentile.
What's your burst score, by the way?
My burst score is approximately 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever Aaron Jones is, just divide it by 3 or 4, and you got mine.
That's your burst score?
A fantastic burst score for a small baby.
By the way, happy birthday to you. We're having fun here.
We're having fun on the Draftaholics. So, needless to say, it was actually pretty easy. Our first, I'm going to call him RB Flex Flyer.
Yeah, let's do it.
Is Aaron Jones.
The RBFF?
So, the RBFF is Aaron Jones.
Let's do it.
All right, so we take Aaron Jones at that 9-12 turn. And before we move on to the 10-1, I do want to say that there's an easier reason to take Aaron Jones here, and it's simply he's the cheapest running back on the Packers. Ty Montgomery happened to go at the 9-8 in this draft. Just take a chance on Aaron Rodgers running back. It's really that simple. So I think even without all of these great numbers, the yards per carry numbers, the fantastic athleticism, just the fact that he was an all-around better runner, it doesn't even matter because in best ball, that cheapest possible running back from Aaron Rodgers' team, that's got tons of upside. And it also hedges against the fact that Aaron Rodgers throws all the time in the red zone. We didn't spend that much on it. So now we're at the 10-1, and it's really about Isaiah Crowell or Gio Bernard.
Giovanni Bernard had 19 touches a game on average in the last 5 weeks, and shined with it. Week 16, he had 158 to all-purpose yards. Joe Mixon only averaged 3.5 yards per carry last year to Giovanni's 4.4. I mean, granted, Joe Mixon's a rookie, and rookies are going to make mistakes. It's going to take a minute to try
to hit a home run.
Trying to hit a home run, yeah. I mean, he wants to prove himself. But Giovanni has been tried and true for many years. Obviously, he's an incredible pass catcher, and he can also run between the tackles, amazingly.
Yeah, for his size, he's below average in size, but he really is a great blocker. He's a great between the tackles runner, and I agree, if you give him a full workload, he will do well with it. Here's an interesting stat. From 2014 to 2016, he never played a game without Jeremy Hill.
Wow.
So Jeremy Hill gets drafted in the second round of 2014, directly after the Bengals took Gio in the second round of 2013. So I looked into some of the stats when he finally got a shot with Joe Mixon out, and it's the exact same thing as you found. This dude exploded. He scored 3 points per game more once he got the rock. So that tells me he's got a floor, and he's got a serious ceiling. There's upside in the fact that Mixon may not be the real deal.
Oh, and how about a healthy John Ross to open up the game a little bit? I mean, the offensive line of the Bengals is definitely upgraded. They drafted their center, Billy Price, as the 21st pick.
I hope that wasn't a reach. It looked like it at the time.
It did, but I mean, at least it's a better center than they had before. And their left tackle, Cordy Glenn, they traded for him too. So their offensive line is going to be upgraded, and I have no problem picking Gio Bernard in the 10th round.
And we should mention that they did draft Mark Walton out of Miami, 4th round pick. Now, he slid a lot in the draft process, mostly because he was trying to gut it out through an injury. He was good enough on film. He probably is a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Those athleticism numbers, in front of people being below average really affected his stock. The Bengals might know something we don't at this point. We'll have to see it to believe it. That's an 18th round kind of upside waiver wire in the season. Mark Walton is not somebody that scares me in regards to Gio Bernard's touches.
I absolutely agree.
Man, that's going to do it
We
for
did
the
it.
first ever episode of the Draftaholics pod. How do you feel, George?
I'm hungry.
I'm very hungry.
I feel like I don't know, the draft took it out of me. A little bit of nerves. We're both actors, Matt and I. We're Renaissance men. This is one of the most nervous I've been in front of a camera, and we've spent a lot of time in front of cameras before.
Yeah, that part is true. It's funny. The minute I start whipping out those stats, it feels like
nervous.
all the lines are
I don't know what
memorized.
you're going to whip out there. I got really nervous.
No. This is a PG-13 podcast.
Yeah.
But, I really felt like this is a really nice banter.
It was really good. I'm looking forward to more.
There's going to be plenty more. We're going to head into many more drafts. If you have a great moment in the draft that might represent a really great conversation like the one you saw today, please hit us up. I'm at Draftaholic. He's at George Slotin. You can always find either of us at Draftaholics Pod on Twitter. We're soon going to have all the social services for you, the Instagram, the Patreon. We're going to give those to you as they come. But right now, we're just very thankful that you were here today.
Yeah, thanks for checking us out. As Matt said, please send us a screenshot. If you have something crazy, if you have a question for us, send it our way. We'll be happy to take a look at it.
Yeah, if maybe 9 quarterbacks went off the board before round 6 in your 1 quarterback draft. What do you do? Does the price change?
Does the price change? It may be like I'm going into my junior year at college and I don't know which courses to take.
Right.
Just screenshot us your course load.
Right. We're
good at that.
We're just drafting things. We don't even care if it's football.
We'll draft college.
All right. We'll see you later. Thanks so much. We are the Draftaholics.
Bye.
Bye.